Every woman I've worked with has healed their IBS with the same system. Not because they found the right elimination diets or cut out gluten or dairy, or because they found a magic probiotic, but because they followed a sequence of steps in the right order. Today, I'm going to share with you that sequence. And please pay close attention to the order, because doing the sequence out of order is where we find the biggest mistakes and the most common cause of not healing your IBS when following a holistic protocol. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the exact 5-step protocol I use with my clients. By the end, you have a clear framework you can start applying this week. You don't have a motivation problem. You have a sequence problem. You're doing step 3 and 4 without ever doing steps 1 and 2. The elimination diet without the testing, the supplements without knowing what you're supplementing for. You've been working hard in the wrong direction. I'm Aneliya, a board-certified physician assistant with 11 years in gastroenterology and holistic gut healing. Most of my clients see improvements by week 3. Most are symptom-free by week 6. The difference is not effort, it is the sequence. I'm going to walk you through all 5 steps of what I call the IBSD code. Evaluate, eliminate, and elevate. Step 1, evaluate. Stop guessing, get the data that tells you what you're actually dealing with. Every failed IBS protocol skipped this step. The instinct when your gut is not feeling good is to start eliminating things. Eliminate dairy, eliminate gluten, eliminate all of the FODMAPs. But removal without information is just extra effort without any data attached to it. Before anything else, we need to know exactly what is going wrong in the gut. Elimination, again, without information, keeps us stuck. That means running the right testing, not a colonoscopy. Now, a colonoscopy is important to rule out colon cancer, but that tells you nothing about your IBS. I'm talking about functional gut testing that will give you the exact imbalances in your gut that are causing the symptoms you're dealing with. The testing that actually matters are comprehensive stool testing that will give you your digestive function, so your stomach acid, pancreatic, and biliary function. They will tell you what your microbiome looks like. Do you have enough of the good, or maybe too much of certain good bacteria that causes inflammation? Do you have leaky gut? Do you have bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine? Do you have parasites, worms, yeast like Candida, and multiple types of yeast? How are your liver detoxification pathways? Do you have inflammation in the intestines? And how is the immune system of your gut? We also need to run food sensitivity testing, and the right type of food sensitivity testing, because there are many on the market and most of them are 50% inaccurate. That is a bad statistic. I would never trust a test like that. You want to make sure you're running the right food sensitivity testing to give us the correct information for elimination later on. Testing is not optional. Testing is what makes every other step actually work. The clients who came to me after years of failed attempts almost always skip this step. Testing was never performed. The right testing was most certainly never performed. When we run this panel, we always find the root cause of the symptoms and all of the cascade events that have happened from that root cause, all of the imbalances. Not a mystery, something with a name, a mechanism, and a treatment protocol. Once we know what we're dealing with, step 2 changes the entire approach to elimination. Step 2. Evaluate. Identify your specific type of imbalance. Not all gut problems are the same. This step makes individualization possible. Yeast overgrowth and bacterial dysbiosis may look similar with symptom presentation, but require completely different protocols to heal. Similar symptoms, similar triggers, and similar frustrations, but they require completely different treatment approaches. Treating yeast with a bacterial overgrowth protocol does absolutely nothing for your symptoms. Once we have the test data, we can identify exactly which imbalance we're working with. The most common imbalances are bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, called a SIBO or SIBO, depending on who you're talking to. Yeast overgrowth, parasites, worms, digestive issues, so whether we're talking about pancreatic output issues, biliary system issues, meaning your gallbladder and your liver, or stomach acid insufficiency, leaky gut, and motility disorders. Calling everything IBS and treating it the same way is why most people never heal. Your specific imbalance has a specific solution. This is where my clients have their first moment of clarity. They finally understand why the probiotic made them worse. or why the high-fiber diet was making bloating unbearable. The data makes sense of years of confusing experiences. Now that we know what we're dealing with, step 3 is where we finally remove things, but strategically, not randomly. Step 3, eliminate. Remove what's feeding the imbalance based on data, not food fear. This is the step most people usually start with. It's the third, not the first. Once we know exactly what we're dealing with, elimination becomes precise. We're not cutting out entire food groups based on someone's random protocol. We're removing the specific substances feeding the specific dysfunction identified in testing. In SIBO, we're removing fermentable foods, reducing fermentable carbohydrates while the antimicrobial protocol works. For yeast, the approach is different. For enzyme insufficiency, dietary elimination may be minimal. The intervention is supporting digestion, not restricting foods. The question is never what should I cut out. The question is what is feeding the specific imbalance we found. Completely different questions with completely different answers. Leanne, the school bus driver who couldn't access a bathroom during her routes, had been restricting for years. When we got the test results, the adjustments were actually less restrictive than what she'd been doing, but they were targeted. Within 3 weeks, she stopped having diarrhea. The restriction wasn't the problem, the targeting was. Elimination gives the treatment protocol room to work. Elimination alone is not healing. Step 4 is critical. If you're realizing that you have been missing some of these steps or doing them out of order, hit subscribe. I put out videos every week walking you through exactly how you get to heal your gut. Now let's keep going because step 4 and 5 are where the healing begins. Step 4, elevate. Heal the gut lining and restore microbiome diversity. This step makes healing stick. Addressing the imbalance removes the problem, but the gut still needs to be rebuilt. Years of imbalance, restriction, and inflammation leaves the gut lining damaged and the microbiome depleted. Without this step, symptoms often reoccur, not because treatment failed, but because the environment that allowed the imbalance was never corrected. The elevation phase involves gut lining repair, specific nutrients supporting intestinal permeability and tight junction integrity, microbiome restoration, reintroducing beneficial bacteria and dietary diversity strategically, digestive support, ensuring proper enzyme and acid production, anti-inflammatory support, reducing system inflammatory load. Treating the imbalance without rebuilding the gut is like fixing a leak without patching the hole. The water stops, but the damage is still there. This is where clients feel the biggest shift, not just gut symptom, but energy, skin, clarity, mental focus, and mood. The gut produces a significant portion of the body's serotonin. When the ecosystem is restored, the effects are systemic. Clients tell me they feel better overall than they ever have in years. Once the gut is rebuilt, the final step determines whether you stay well or end up back where you started. Step 5, elevate. Reintroduce systematically and build a gut that works long-term. This is a step that nobody talks about. Once the gut is rebuilt and everything is in balance again, we get to introduce all of the foods that we initially eliminated based on your testing. But reintroduction has to be systemic. Adding everything all at once usually triggers symptoms. We have to guide you through this process. So we introduce one thing at a time every 3 days. The goal is to progressively expand your diet. The same goes for fiber. If we initially start with a large amount of fiber, your microbiome cannot yet handle that. So we take things slowly, possibly 5 grams at a time for a few weeks. Your goal is then to reach at least 30 grams per day. The reintroduction process. Introduce one food category at a time with a 3 to 5 day gap between additions. Track symptoms with curiosity, not fear. Distinguish between a food reaction and a healing response. Build toward a diverse, unrestricted diet as the endpoint. The goal is not to find the foods you can tolerate forever. The goal is to heal the gut to the point where you don't need a list of safe foods. Karina, the vegan client who couldn't figure out why she was sick despite a perfect diet, traveled internationally while on the program. Full symptom control in environments and with foods that would have previously been off the table. The protocol didn't just reduce her symptoms, it gave her her food freedom again. Now, tonight I would like you to do a little test. Look at whatever protocol or diet you're currently following. Map it against these 5 steps. Evaluate, identify, eliminate, elevate, reintroduce. Ask yourself, honestly, which steps have you completed? Which have you skipped or done out of order? The first missing step is where to focus next. Healing IBS is not complicated once you have the right information and follow the right protocol in the right steps. It's not about the perfect diet or the perfect supplements. It's about knowing what is actually happening, addressing it specifically, rebuilding what was damaged, and restoring diversity and resilience. That sequence works. I watch it work every week, and it can work for you too. Now that you have the full sequence, you might be wondering how to tell what's actually driving your symptoms before you even get tested. I made a video breaking down the 5 warning signs that tell me something more specific than general IBS is going on. It will help you start reading your own symptom pattern right now. That's linked in the description and on your screen.